the sanitary pad was not first, the scientists that worked on it didn't actually use human period blood to test sanitary pads until I think late 2020s.
Because it's a man.
Plus, it was a man that actually developed it. When you ask me the challenges, it's no longer that girls should be educated. The challenge is more that girls should be supported beyond the education system.
Yes, they should be recognized.
Recognized beyond the education system. And we have another Amina doing the same thing right now.
Amina Muhammad of the United Nations.
You understand?
Yes.
I know a lot of people who argue and said, you know what, but she comes from a different kind of background and all that. I said, no. You can't even see her in anything else apart from representing the culture. Yes. So the problem really is not our culture, it's our desire to control and our mindset, to control a certain narrative, to fit, you know, whatever it is that we're trying to do to cage women in a certain way.
What challenges do girls and young women in northern Nigeria faces today?
I think the biggest challenges young girls and women in northern Nigeria face is lack of...
Hello everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Together We Notch podcast. I am Zoya Muhammad Manzo and I will be your host for today. Today's guest is someone whose voice, career, and impact speaks for themselves. Joining us here is Safiya Ibrahim, a communication and public relation consultant and renowned public speaker with over 15 years experience across print, radio, and television. She has worked with both local and international media organizations like BBC, Media Action, CNBC Africa, and Capital News Canada. Safiya is a member of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, a certified Scrum Master and Agile Project Manager. And she is the founder of Bold Girls NG, a mentorship and life skills platform empowering girls and women in Gombe State. Safiya, you are welcome to Notch Podcast.
Thank you so much, Zoya. Nice to be here as well.
Okay. So, first of all, if we remove all the titles, the consultant, the speaker, the founder, how would you introduce Safiya to someone who is meeting you for the first time?
That is a very interesting question. And funny enough, I've asked myself that question numerous times, but I've never actually had to come up with an answer for myself. And it's a trap. Thank you for trapping me, actually. But I like that it's a good trap because now it's going to force me to think about it. Without all the titles, without all the achievements, without all the things I've done, I would say I'm a happy-go-lucky person. I'm an adventurous person. I'm a very open-minded, and I like to think of myself as a great listener. I like to listen. I like to hear people's stories. So that would be me. You would see me and think serious all the time. But there's a side of me that very few people know, which means the side that is fun and friendly and carefree to a fault, actually. And the very few people who know me know that I'm a sports person. I've always been a sports person since I was a child. I've skated, I've snowboarded, I've done basketball, I've done football. So
you've literally done everything.
Yeah, I've done a lot. Swimming is one of my most favorite activities to do. I like to tell everyone that knows I like to say that I'm a fish. Like, you can put me in the water and I would be the most simplest of people that you would ever meet. So without all that fluff of, you know, career and school and, you know, all the things that I've done, I think that would be the best way I would describe myself. I'm a carefree person, really.
It's actually the best.
Yes, it is.
So how did your joining in media and communication begins?
Funny enough, I have an aunt of mine. She's actually still in the media, actually, here in Gombe State. And I remember when the decision was I had to decide what I wanted to study in university. I would see her go out into the media. She was on TV, newscasting, and all that. And I would look at her like, oh my God, I want to be like her. But then at the same time, I grew up watching newscasters such as Aisha Bellew, you know, and what's her name? The head of the NIGhtCom, Nigerians in Diaspora. I forget her name actually, but she's one of the people that I look up to. And my dad himself had a little sting with NTA. He was a cameraman, actually. So even though I never got to see that part of him, I heard his stories. He was very passionate about it. So I'd like to say it's in the blood, kind of a way, but I just decided, you know what? I love telling stories. I love listening. So
why not go into
the media? Exactly.
Okay. So what made you transition into communication, consulting, and public speaking?
So media has always been what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be a journalist. I knew I wanted to be a broadcaster. I didn't so much like journalism, but I like broadcasting. Journalism, print. I write fiction.
Okay.
Broadcasting was more something that I really admired, TV and radio. So I had a string with TV. It was just so exhausting. It was just so exhausting being on camera all the time, it's almost like a performance.
Yes.
And then I tried radio and I fell in love with radio, especially talk radio, not just news radio or music radio, but talk radio.
Like talk shows.
Exactly, where you have conversations, you bring up issues and you dissect them. So I fell in love with radio mostly. And I thought to myself, what if I can do this beyond the performance of being on air? And of course, the natural course was going into communications and public relations, because then you actually get to talk to a wider audience without the radio performance, without the TV performance. You get to actually make a difference in trying to solve PR solutions.
And you get to meet people.
You get to meet people. Unlike where if it's radio, it's just somebody at the end, at the other end that you don't see. Yes, after a while with talk radio, you form some sort of familiarity with your listeners. They call in, oh, hi, Safiya, how are you today? But with public relations and you are now on the field. You're now talking to people. You're listening deeper without the performance of the screen that is between you and your listener, you and your audience. Yeah.
Okay. So beyond media, you also work in project management and agile frameworks.
Yes.
Which is quite unique. So how did you get into the Scrum and agile project management?
So with project management, of course, when you're in the media, especially in PR, there's always some sort of project you're trying to handle. So it's a natural kind of progression in terms of career. For anyone that doesn't want to get stuck with broadcast or media, it just makes sense that is where you diverge. But the decision for me to transition or to add that extra feather came during COVID-19. Or way even before that, I was thinking about it because I started my NIPR certification way before that. But I realized there will come a time where, like COVID, you'll be stuck in such, confined places.
Yes.
And there's nothing much you can do in terms of radio or print. And also when it comes to PR, and communications, there's no one-on-one kind of interaction that you're going to have. So projects kind of became redundant during COVID. Everything stopped. And I thought to myself, agile methodologies is the way to go because it doesn't require you to have a physical location to actually run projects. You just need to have the know-how to actually do it, and you can run it remotely from wherever you are. And that is how I got into Agile and Scrum itself, because I thought to myself, well, I have the communications background. All I have to do is translate some of those skills and see how I can diverge into project management. And it helped because from then on, I started getting involved with other projects that are within the media frame, but at the same time, they're impact-driven as well. So a lot of people tend to think that growth and, the career ladder stays within a field, but they're actually interconnected if you know exactly where to key into and upskill. And so for me, it was a natural kind of progression for me to go into project management as well.
As you said, you are an adventurer, so...
I am. I like to try challenging things and new things, absolutely.
Yes. So how can African organizations improve execution and delivery through better project management?
So I've had this conversation before where, especially in Africa, and organizations here in Nigeria, is that we are still stuck with the traditional modes of, project management. You have a project, you have a timeline, you have budget, and you have people to execute them. And then where there's a breakdown in order, everything stops. Just like COVID-19 showed us, everything just pauses. With Agile and Scrum, what happens is that you get to tweak as the project goes on. So there's always an M&E, a monitoring and evaluation, that happens even within as the project is going on. Unlike in the traditional project management where at the beginning you have your first, assessments, M&E, and then when the project is done, you have another. With Scrum and Agile, what it does is that it ensures that you monitor as you go.
As the project is going, you're monitoring it.
Absolutely, and tweak. So if there are maybe experts that you need to bring in that were never foreseen in the course of budgeting or the project, you can bring them in within and pause certain levels. I always give an example with building a technological app, for example. Let's say I want to build an app. You know how we have here on social media, you see a lot of what I ordered versus what I got.
What I got, yes.
I was actually thinking of doing something. I want to build an app where, a lot of people will be able to say, okay, I ordered this versus what I got, but I got it from this person and was good. Something like a review kind of app, right? Now, we sit down with a team that will develop this app and we do our assessments, and everyone said, well, the most important feature that I want on the app is that I want it to be able to direct me to the link of the most authentic person selling that product within a pool of people that are selling that. And so we start developing it based on what the people said they wanted, right? 2 months in, as we're developing, and remember, Agile says, don't just continue because of that one thing. Try and keep finding out new things that maybe...
and adding, yes.
So in the course of it, our M&E team now goes back to the people and say, okay, we're still developing this thing, but we want to still find out, is that what you want? And then you go back and you do a poll, and then you find out that is not even what their attention is on now. The attention now is ensuring that there is a return policy. And so the app needs to feature, and that is the number one thing that they need done now. So it's not that you're going to pause that other feature. It's that now the people or, customers are asking for this one to be a priority.
So you have to add the feature.
You have to add the feature, adjust, and make sure that that becomes the first thing that you're going to roll out to the customers. That is Agile.
That should be priority.
Exactly. Yes. That is Agile. Agile basically says, how do we make sure that project runs in such a way that it is in tandem with what customers, clients want? Unlike where we say we have a road we're going to fix, until when you go all the way to the end, you find out that, well, cars or lorries cannot follow this road. It's actually a different path that they need you to build on it. But then you've wasted your resources and energy in building this particular path when really people's minds have changed. And that is how humans work. Anyway, I wake up today in the morning, I wanted to wear a red dress, and I ended up not wearing a red dress. I wore a blue dress.
Yes.
So you think of project like that, it makes it easier for organizations to actually reach impact and to actually do the work they want to do efficiently.
That's great. So what inspired you to start Bold Girls?
The inspiration for Bold Girls, I always tell a lot of young girls and women that there's always that one thing you wanted to do way, way, way before you even knew who you are, but you somehow shelved it because, maybe society, schooling, career, expectations, yes. They drag you in every direction. But when you really sit down to understand who you are, you realize that thing you always wanted to do is never going to go away. It has always been there. You always wanted to do. And so for me, that was that thing. And so when I always say women should find purpose, that is exactly what I mean. Because I didn't even know what my purpose was until I started Bold Girls. And I realized, wait, but this is the thing that I knew I had wanted to do since I was a young girl. I wanted to talk to ladies. I wanted us to have a community where, you know, we could share, we can, you know, support each other, we can grow to get together. Maybe because I grew up the eldest and also the eldest the daughter for that matter.
Yes.
You tend to not have that community, unlike your younger ones who now have you and the other ones to kind of support.
Like they said, the eldest is the parent. Second parents, yes.
Exactly. So you don't really have that support. So when you grow up, you're looking for it and you continue searching for it. I remember there was a group I saw, something about Eldest Daughters Association or something on Instagram, and I remember just looking through it. I said, "Oh my God, this is a pity party. I'm not even going to be part of this at all." But that was the drive for me. The fact that I wanted to see, you know, to build a community of young women who could support each other, grow together, and uplift each other, especially in a society where you're being pulled in every direction. Expectations from family, from friends,
especially for the girls,
especially for the girls. So there needs to be that kind of community-driven support that women have. And so for me, that was the initial plan for Bold Girls. And by the time, you know, we started it, it has grown to a point where I myself, it's scaring me because I never saw past just the initial dream.
Yes.
And now, but then that's the thing about purpose and dreams, is that you continue to upgrade and you continue to redefine the end goal. And for something like Bold Girls, you can't even say there's an end goal because you keep growing as you go. Yeah.
What challenges do girls and young women in northern Nigeria faces today?
I think the biggest challenge is young girls and women in northern Nigeria face is lack of support. Lack of from society mostly, and then also from the home front, either through, if they're married, from husbands or from parents. And I wouldn't even want to say that this is something that even the parents understand or society know that they're doing. I think it is a fear that the entire society has grown up with when it comes to girl-child education. Not just until recently did we even start sending girls to school in Africa. So you can imagine that took years and years of convincing, of, you know, awareness for parents to even start seeing girls as, you know, also beneficiaries of an education system, to start seeing what an educated girl and woman can do. So a lot of years went by for that to happen. So when you ask me the challenges, it's no longer that girls should be educated. The challenge is more that girls should be supported beyond the education system.
Yes, they should be recognized.
Recognized beyond the education system. So she's gone to school, right? Did she just go to school to come back and keep the degree at home? What was the initial target for her going to school for? And I think this is where what does she want to do? And I think this is where society is stuck. Because, like, okay, you told us to send our girls to school, we've sent them to school, now they should come back. But we're like, but that's just not the whole point. So we're now still battling with she's done with the education. We need more female gynecologists. Allow her. We need more female teachers. Allow her. We need more female engineers and scientists.
Yes.
Allow her. There are so many tech solutions. I keep saying this, that only women can provide solutions to problems that concerns women. I gave an example in a different forum where the sanitary pad was not first, the scientists that worked on it didn't actually use human period blood to test sanitary pads until I think late 2020s.
Because it's a man.
Plus it was a man that actually developed it. So you can imagine, and so all the issues we've been having as women with sanitary pads is because women never tested it. It wasn't tested for women. It wasn't developed for women. It was developed by a man for women.
For something.
For something that a woman is going to use.
It is something for the development, yes.
You understand? So unless we start seeing women-centered problems and saying it's only women that can solve it and bring them together to try and solve those issues, we're not going to get ahead in a lot of things. And you can't do that with caging an educated girl or woman and restricting her to just getting a university degree.
Why is mentorship so important to young girls, especially in conservative societies?
Mentorship is one of the foundations for any progression in whether it's in a society, in a home, in school, wherever you find yourself. Why do I say that? Take the family unit, for example. We call it parenting, not mentorship, but it's one and the same thing. Someone has to guide a child to grow, to become successful, to become a good citizen in their society and community. It's called parenting. When you come out to the world, it's called mentorship, because you still need someone with a certain level of expertise
to guide you,
to now hold your hand and say, this is the route you should take. This is what the pitfalls are. These are the challenges. It's very, very important. There is no one successful person that didn't have somebody to lean on at some point in their life. It doesn't. You always look up to someone. In our society, especially the one where we live in now, it's even more important, because we don't have enough role models to become mentors, and mentees themselves are left on their own. So parents get to do the work, teachers do the work in school, but once they come out into society, that forms the larger part of who teaches them how to live their life, whether it's in their business or in their career. And for girls, it becomes more important, because we're now in a world where there's a lot of education going on for young girls and women. But then there's also a lot of troubles that are happening with social media, with the world becoming a global village. So where you were scared before that the society is what will, quote unquote, spoil the child, now is the entire world that is going to be responsible for shaping that child and shaping that girl. So you need to have someone to be able to say, I trust that person to guide her, or the person or the mentee themselves looks up to someone and say, you know what? I see what this person is doing and I want to emulate that. So it's a very, very important thing that we need to do. Unfortunately, we lack mentors. Because mentorship, as I always say, it's a two-way street. You have someone who wants to share with you their knowledge, wants to help you. But then you also need someone who is willing to accept that knowledge and to learn and go the distance. So it's a give and take relationship. Loyalties have to be established for it to be unique. In our climb, you find a lot of people with the knowledge, with the experience, yet they're not bringing themselves forward to become mentors. And then you also have mentees who want to take advantage of that relationship. Oh, it's because I know that person that I got into someone, and then I refer you to someone and you take advantage, you go and mess up, and it looks bad on me. Exactly. So the whole system needs to be rebooted, but it also starts with having enough role models and mentors for people, who are young girls, to look up to in the first place. But it's a very, very important dynamic that we need.
Okay. So how do cultural and societal expectations shape the voices of young women, especially in northern Nigeria?
We can't run away from culture.
We can't.
We can't hide away from it. And in fact, our culture is what makes us unique. And I always say this. In fact, our culture works for us more than it does against us. And I'll explain. Should we actually hold on to the true sense of what our culture is, more women would progress. However, culture has now been blurred with self-interest, with ego, and with authoritarianism, where we want to control, our desire to control a certain narrative is what is making us backwards. Way before when, we've had situations where a lot of women held positions from the same culture that, is holding us back, and have made progress.
In Amina, for example.
You understand? And that was where I was going with, and I was hoping you would get that.
Yes.
Great, amazing things. We're celebrating her around the world, globally.
Even today.
And we have another Amina doing the same thing right now.
Amina Muhammad of the United Nations.
You understand? Yes. I know a lot of people will argue and said, you know what, but she comes from a different kind of background. And all. I said, no, but look at her. She doesn't go anywhere without her cultural wear. You can't even see her in anything else apart from representing the culture. Yes. So the problem really is not our culture, it's our desire to control and our mindset, to control a certain narrative, to fit, whatever it is that we're trying to do to cage women in a certain way. But give us the leverage to do, guide us. And that's why I go back to saying support from parents, from husbands, from society. Support us, watch us, and then call us back to when we are making errors. You can't tell me that there are no men that are making the same errors that we women are going to go into. We're all humans. We're bound to make mistakes. But the thing is, if you do the mistake, are you now defined by that mistake or by the corrections you make to improve it? But for a woman, you get defined by the mistakes you make. And that is not how it's supposed to be, especially if there's a potential in a woman to actually get to a position or to do something to change the narrative of her society. Just recently, I think there was a lady, I can't remember, a young girl actually, who's part of the one selected for some project with NASA, space engineering. And I said, she's from Ariwa. And I said, I want to meet her dad. That's the first person. I don't even want to hear anything. I want to meet her dad. Because I can only imagine the loopholes, even her mom, that they had to go through for her to get to that stage. So parents need to understand that when we say we want to become something, when we want to do, we're not fighting with culture. We're not fighting with our religion. We're fighting to have a purpose for ourselves. Beyond
our culture is what actually made us we are.
Exactly. So. And the culture is beautiful. I always say, of all the cultures in Nigeria, maybe I'm being partial to
no,
it.
You're not.
It's one of the most beautiful things. Not only does it instill morals, modesty, and also the kind of kindness and community living that we have. So we have everything it takes to progress. But again, I said fear and years of decolonization that really needs to happen.
We need to do better as a society. So how can men, institutes, and communities support women empowerment?
Well, because Nigeria generally is a patriarchal society. A lot of African countries are. A lot of Asian countries are. Most of the European and maybe not. But generally, globally, we live in a man's world. We've heard that a lot. And we agree. In fact, I'm a true advocate for men as leaders. I'm pro men. I don't want a soft life, honestly. I apologize. I want a soft life.
Exactly.
But at the same time, what I do acknowledge is that I need someone to lead. And naturally, women need leaders. Doesn't mean they can't lead. But they need leaders.
They need guidance.
There are certain biological facts that we cannot even argue with.
Yes.
And so we relinquish that. We want you to lead. We don't want to lead. But we want a situation where, should we see an issue with the way you lead or with a challenge that's going to be posed to your leadership or to the situation, we want the opportunity to say, hey, slow down on those, on the accelerator for a while. Let's see what the problem is. We want to be able to offer solutions. And that is why women
want to be involved.
We want to be involved in that decision making. How many times have you seen a man take a decision without, consultation from the women folk? And the decision probably is for the women folk at the end of the day.
Yes.
And then they come and they're like, well, you didn't ask me. I said, but you should have said something, but you didn't consult me before you took the decision. So many things will be averted if that consultation and that being involved gets into it. So yes, patriarchy is a problem. But at the same time, I think we're doing much better now. A lot of men realize they can't even do it alone anymore. I think there's it's, what they say, the rain washes away and, your eyes clear. Yes. I think we're getting to a point where men have started realizing that they can't do it alone.
Yes.
And they need it. There's a certain eye that I always say that a woman has and a man can never, ever have. And that is why we are multitaskers by nature. I could be here and I'm already planning what I'm going to have for dinner and what the family's going to have for dinner. I am already 2 days ahead of my husband in terms of understanding whether or not we're going to have enough water in the house, whether or not the unit is going to die out. But he's waiting now for me to tell him when it's going to happen. Yes. he probably knows that he's going to have to pay for it, but I'm already 2 days ahead. There was a joke that was shared with me the other day, and it said that when a man hears that something is finished at home, he knows the woman is giving you a notice because it's not finished right now. It's finished in the next 2 days.
Yes.
So if you understand that, then you know that you can't do without both of you together having this situation. So it's important, but the support also needs to come from them because they hold authority, they hold the power. And should you find that you have either a wife or a daughter that has the potential, we see skills, we see talents in a lot of young girls, but they die. They die with no support. So we need that from them. I always say, even to the bold girls that we're with, I always say, you can't even be a bold girl without the support of the men in your life. Brother, father, husband. Very, very important. Because when the tough gets going and society begins to crush you, they are the only ones who speak up against and who speak up for you. So we can't do without them. We can't. And I always appreciate the men and, in our lives that are doing that for us because, and I say for myself personally, I wouldn't even be who I am without the support of my husband or without the support of my father. I always say that because I'd probably have quit a long time ago because of the pressure, because of, self-doubt, because of, now you're a mother, now you're a wife. There are certain things that might want to drag you away from your own path.
You have built a career while advocating for women. And this balance is so inspiring. What's next for Safiya Ibrahim? New projects, platforms, goals?
As I said, I'm an adventurous person. So I really don't even want to know what's next. Why? Because I believe when you're on a path to doing something, things just fall on your lap.
Just go with the flow.
Go with the flow. So as I said, I'm a happy-go-lucky kind of person. So when something comes up, I analyze it. Is it going to derail me from who I am and my purpose? If not, then it's a challenge that I'm willing to take. But in terms of what's next for me, honestly, I don't see past the next 3-4 goals that I have in front of me. Because one of the things that I realize a lot of us women, we do, and is that we multitask in so many directions that we don't get to finish something specific. You start this, you drop it. You start this, you drop it. I've seen situations where it's, okay, you get married. And then, okay, I'm going to go back to school. Oh, you're in school. And then everything pauses. But then what happens? You got married and then now there's a baby coming along. And so you defer. Then you haven't done school. You haven't finished this. The marriage is still new, So a lot of things happen. So I like to take things one step at a time, but analyze as I go as well. So at this point, I really don't even want to know what's next for me, but I'm welcome to new opportunities. Yes, okay. And exciting adventures.
What legacy do you wish to leave for girls and women in Nigeria?
I always tell myself that, and I've asked this question, and I ask a lot of women too, what do you want to be remembered for? And that's the first thing I usually ask a lot of the bold girls to identify for themselves. What do you want to be remembered for? And it shouldn't be, I want to be remembered as a mother. I want to be remembered as a wife. You as a person, what do you want to be remembered for? Your children will always remember you. So there's that legacy already. Your husband, we hope he will remember you. Yes. He will always remember you. But you as a person, when someone looks at you, what is that legacy, as you said? For me is that I was able to make women that, look up to me or women that want to learn from me to be better versions of themselves, whatever that definition is for them. I don't even define that. You have to define that for yourself. And if I was able to do that for you, no matter how minute, that is the legacy I want to leave. I want to know that I have an army of women out there who could say, because she did this for me to help me figure myself out, I'm a better person. So yeah, I think that would be the kind of legacy I would want to say I live.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we wrap up, we have a quick lightning round. Short questions.
Okay.
Quick answers.
Okay, quick fire. All right.
Radio or TV?
Oh, radio. Simple. Radio.
Public speaking or writing?
Public speaking.
Okay. Planning or spontaneous creativity?
I'm a planner. I'm a planner by fault. I'm a planner.
So you plan everything.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Media or public advocacy?
That's a tough one. That's a very tough one. Wow. Public advocacy. Yeah.
Okay. So leadership or collaboration?
Leadership. With leadership comes collaboration. So leadership.
Okay. Just one word to describe your joining.
Blessed.
Just a word.
Blessed.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of the conversation. A massive thank you to Aunt Safiya.
Thank you.
For sharing her wisdom, her voice, and her heart. And from media to mentorship, she reminded us that stories shape societies and empower girls changes community. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share with someone who needs to hear this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aunt
Thank you
Safiya.
very much.